Hey, what's up, guys? So we're recording with a rosé. It's actually this one from is from California. It's actually pretty good. And as I was saying, so we did a lot of seminars with Richard. And as I was saying, one of the pictures of the seminar where the two of us is with a guy, I totally look bigger than him. So it's all that
It
matters.
never happens.
Yeah, right. I'll show you the pictures.
I'm sure that he chose a proper angle.
Yeah,
Cause
he was puffing his chest and he still looks smaller.
I
I'm
think
just saying.
He's trying to suck
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
And I'm sure there's
yeah.
Photoshop.
I was like nice and like this, so they could see how square my shoulders were. That's why on that one.
I'm sure.
Exactly. So we are talking about seminars. You
Yes.
actually had a few seminars in Mexico first.
Yes, so I did a
So how
couple
did
of
that go?
seminars. They went well. I've done a total of 4 seminars in Mexico. And when I first brought up the idea of doing the seminars in Mexico to Julian, it was more of getting your permission to teach the philosophies first and the principles, and then what to teach up there. So down in Mexico is a lot of teaching the basics, getting the coaches' heads and the trainers' heads around the idea of, how they can add value to their coaching.
Yeah, because you were telling me how much money they make over there in Mexico. It's insane.
Yeah.
Even in a place that was touristic, where like Playa del Carmen, where we
Right.
were, how much? Okay, so tell everybody how much do they make basically? It's crazy.
If you're looking down there at gyms, the really good ones are charging maybe $40 a month for memberships, which is extremely low. It's definitely undervaluing all the coaches, and these coaches are working from 5:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we had friends over there, and they have 2 days off. But literally, the first class was 5:30 in the morning, which is, and it was a touristic place. It was Playa del Carmen, very very pretty, but they were working hard, like almost every day, training like crazy. Yeah, last class is after 9. Those were
Yeah.
that's rough, and I mean, and then so of course the cost of life is lower over there, but still, even considering the cost of life, they still make little.
Yeah, they're not valued. I think
Yep.
the culture in Mexico is very anti-exercise. It's a very sedentary life, and so I think the main people that get into fitness are either the rich people trying to play tennis, soccer, or some form of golf or
Yeah.
triathlons. But in reality, the main people that do the sports really have no support down there.
Yeah, and CrossFit is fairly new in Mexico anyway.
Yeah, and it's becoming a rich man sport. I mean, it's a rich man hobby, I should say.
Yeah.
Down there, you need to have money to join a gym because
So, how many? I'm just curious because, like for example, in Brazil, which is a little bit like Mexico, where there's very rich people and then
Right.
everybody more or less doesn't have money. They went from like 5 to 500 in 5 years. Did they explode in Mexico just like that also?
Yeah, it went from having one, and in Mexico we have I call it the taco stop theory.
Yeah.
So one opens up, and then someone starts seeing that successful, so then you have 7 of them open up on the same block.
Yeah, that's called the Torrance
Yeah.
tacos also, but yeah, whatever. Yeah,
They try and fight each other
yeah,
for the business.
yeah.
you
It
know?
sounds
So
like Torrance. Yeah.
That's where the value starts going down. Something that I really noticed with the coaches, though, we had a really good core group of coaches that are very, very passionate for progressing the sport, progressing themselves, their educations. They invest a lot of money because all the education they're getting are in dollars, so they have to pay
Right.
dollar bills
Right.
for it.
They paid rent in dollars too, by the
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
and they get paid in pesos.
Yeah.
So the conversion rate right now about 20 pesos a dollar doesn't work out to their advantage very much.
Yeah, because every third they have even the affiliation is
Yeah.
$3,000 a year in
Yeah.
pesos. It's absurd. I mean,
That's
so between the
that tends to be 3 months of the rent.
yeah
So
yeah just that alone, and then they have all the certification process. They have
Right.
all the specialty courses, which they all do, by the way.
Yeah.
I was very impressed how dedicated they are to CrossFit and how much they like it. They do all the competitions.
Yeah.
Some of them travel to regionals, which
Right.
is a humongous amount of money. They're dedicated. Like I saw that in Brazil, like they're going completely crazy for CrossFit. But so there seem to be more and more CrossFit gyms popping
it's
everywhere.
starting to grow a lot. Mexico, I think, is going to be a big up and coming place once you get the right athletes and they start really learning how the American athletes
Yeah.
compete and train and how the seasons work. I think that you can see some big athletes come out of Latin America. There's some amazing athletes. I mean, you had that young kid from, I think he's Acapulco or Puerto Vallarta, and the kid I think got top 3 in the teen division.
Yeah. Didn't the Mexican
Did he
win actually? I think he won.
might have.
I think he won.
He did very well.
I think he won. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I think he actually won.
Yeah. So you have incredible talent and you have incredible dedication. There's just no money going in.
Yeah.
So looking at Brendy, who's one of the guys that actually helped me when I was in Playa the first time, he's a Mexican weightlifter. He got 5th in the Olympics and had no support from the Mexican government.
Yeah, I saw that. He was
looking at that aspect. It's a little bit sad to see that you see talent being wasted because there's no support for the community.
Yeah, Mexicans are really hardworking.
Yeah.
So for CrossFit, they should do well.
Yeah.
But it's funny but in Mexico, I saw the same problem that I saw in France. Is the attitude toward CrossFit is wrong. Like they all stuck on volume,
Right.
and they follow those stupid high volume workouts instead of favoring intensity first.
Right.
And that's gonna damper their training and their success
Big time.
tremendously.
Yeah, I think that they're still stuck in the mentality. It's the Instagram mentality where it's on season all.
I was doing it in French and Portuguese.
Yeah.
First thing I talked about was that it's not Instagram, it's not Facebook. Man.
Right.
Yeah, that high volume stuff they were following. We were in Playa del Carmen, and so we were looking at their training, and the amount of work they were doing was insane. Like the volume of the training, I was like, it doesn't work like that. And of course the intensity was low because there's just no way you're gonna train that much. But it's funny because the same problem I saw in Europe.
It's funny because I have a couple of clients down there. I have a guy in Mexico City, and I program for him, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do Metcons afterwards." I'm like, "You're not doing programming right if you can do."
There is no way. So. Yeah, you can do what we do and then go do your CrossFit workout after that. But it's funny. It's the same. I think it's because all of them got into CrossFit late, and so they didn't get the CrossFit where it was like Grace a day. I remember when we started, you do Grace, that's it, you're done.
Right.
But you did it under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And now it's not Grace, and so they don't come from that. Glassman defined it at high intensity training, not high volume training. He actually said it early. He said it's about high intensity, not volume. But I think they got so late, they got there once the hero workout started and when everything started to shift toward volume for the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, the problem is you just have too much pacing going on.
Way too much.
And all these athletes, you see them and they do a workout, and you can walk around afterwards. I could never walk around afterwards when I was done with the workout. I was always being on the floor.
No, and you should learn CrossFit through Grace, through friends, through those workouts where you're on the ground feeling like you're dying for 10 minutes. If you don't feel like this, you don't understand intensity.
Right.
And I saw the same problem usually outside of the States, really, where they don't understand the culture of intensity within CrossFit. So, I mean, we'll help, don't worry. We'll kill all of you, don't worry. But so as we are saying, Richard does a lot of the seminars he's going to have all South America. So he does most of what I do outside of a few things that I talk about myself. But you have the seminars in Mexico. So tell me the difference, first of all, between the seminars when you attended and the one we did together in Torrance, because that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference is the time schedule. You know, you show up and... For me, I'm very time OCD and I stress a lot about time. So even here, I'm trying to get up 2 hours early. And there, the seminars would start at 9. And so I'd show up at 8:30. And sometimes the gym wasn't open or you're like, what's going on here? Am I at the right place? 9 o'clock would run around and you'd see maybe the 2 or 3 people there would show up.
And then the owner would show up?
Yeah. And so then it was, the seminars, I started with a 45-minute gap. I call it the Spanish time gap, the Latin American time gap. In the U.S., it was 8:30, and people are already there trying to help set up whatever they needed.
In Torrance, 8:45.
In Torrance,
everybody was sitting, ready to go 8:45.
I'm gonna call him out. Ignacio showed up 20 minutes late.
Oh, he did. I didn't pay attention.
Yes.
Did you now?
From Argentina.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a time gap. Second day, they showed up right on time. I think it's because I gave Martina a really hard time about it the first day. I think it just tends to be the time.
The time thing.
Dude,
I live in Africa, and they come when you come in the morning. I'm kind of used to that one. But there's been cultural differences between European seminars, the one in Torrance, the one in Mexico. In Mexico, did people come to train? They come to learn? Which one was the most?
Yeah, a lot of people came to learn movements. It was more how do we pick things up? How do we push things? How do we carry things?
More like technical aspect of the lift.
The base of it all was just teaching people movements. And then I went into a little bit of the rotation, a little bit of the hinging, the squats. but it was a lot of let's teach you guys how to move properly and how to start assessing people. I started towards the end, started talking a little bit about how to fix people and what we should be looking for, how to add value to people as they train. But in reality, again, the CrossFit, the culture of CrossFit there is the new school. So it's all barbell cycling, all weightlifting.
Shitload of volume.
We had a lot of people doing gymnastics and this and that, and they want to go to the CrossFit Games. And I'm like, well, it's off season, get stronger, but get stronger at barbell cycling. And they start doing a weightlifting cycle or a Smoloff, and then they write me a message. I'm like, that's not what I meant.
That's not what I said at all. Yeah,
we need to change that aspect of how when I say a strength cycle, I want a strength cycle with barbell cycling with strongman. Learning to bring up that anaerobic capacity as well. But it was a lot of teaching people how to lift up odd objects, a lot more than just the principles. So I taught the principles, but everybody was very interested in. Nobody had ever picked up a stone or sandbag, so it was a lot of.
So it was more like a strongman class. Also, that's cool.
So we got to teach a lot of cool movements, and we had a lot of women that were super stoked on lifting things. Which, by the way, the women always tend to be stronger and have a lot more mental strength.
mentally so much tougher. Funny story about that with the women being tougher than guys is when I had my gym in PV, so we're talking 6-7 years ago, Squatter Day started at me basically squatting with my coach Sam Alduenda, and then I wanted to finish with conditioning, so I would take the prowler outside, and Charlotte almost killed herself. And so after that, guys started to join me to do the prowler, and I had at the time I had women training, but they were like 40, 50 plus, and they were like, "Well, can we come to the prowler with us, with you guys?" And I was like, "Nah, everybody pukes at the end. It's horrible." Not that they were weaker, but I just couldn't figure them out going up that hill with a prowler. And one started, and she finished, and I was like, "So how was it?" Because she, as everybody else, she died, and she was like, "Oh, I loved it. The intensity, the stuff like that. It was just so awesome." I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then the second one joined, and before you know it, we had more women than guys.
Right.
Like that's always. Still to this day, I'm always amazed how tough women are when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because man, do they push at it.
Yeah, even like at the Torrance seminar, you saw the women. They would fight for it. The guys would just give up and get upset and walk away.
Yeah.
And we would have to rally them back in to push. And the women would be like, "Don't help me, I'm finishing." And
you're not talking about athletes. You're talking about women that are not necessarily in shape, 40 plus, and they would fight for every inch of that rope.
They may be a little insecure at the beginning, but then once they start pulling the rope,
they kind of shy to go because they have all the guys, like puffing their chest and everything, and at the end, the only ones standing up are the women, basically. Right. Yeah, it's awesome. It's like that lady yesterday who just keep fighting on the sandbag. She could barely walk, but man, she fought for every single inch. Yeah, the other ones did. She fought for every inch. It was awesome. So that's cool. So you had, those are cool seminars in Mexico.
Yeah,
so
it was a lot of fun. Hopefully next year I'll get a couple more. And I have a little small team that's building out in Mexico. So we're I keep in touch with them, and we're trying to build something that, goes along the Coaches Week. Hopefully start building like a Latin American team to go through. So
Coaches Week will be important because there's so much.
There's so much
stuff we need to get out there.
So it's all just about spreading and gaining value to the coaches down there and re-educating a whole population that believes that exercising is bad.
Well, you're telling me that. I'm trying to help French people. Trust me, that's going to be something. So it's funny because the seminars are all different. So last time before we came to Europe, we did the ones in Torrance, which were the first one.
Yeah.
Those first two were the first two Strongfit seminars. So we did that together. That was actually really cool. It was successful. We had 40 people per?
Yeah.
Something like that. It was very successful. It was, those ones were different. It was funny because you can see the cultural differences. Like a lot of them came to train.
Right.
Came to learn. They were more advanced, obviously, than people in Mexico because they know CrossFit better.
For the selfie with you.
Exactly. When they're dying, it was funny. Like they intended to train hard. They all wanted the picture, which was kind of funny. But it was pretty cool because we had people from everywhere. Really, we had actually two Dutch people. We had the guy from Sweden, the guy from Hawaii. The guy from Hawaii.
Yeah.
We had people from everywhere. It was a cool weekend. I thought we got to share. The guy from Dubai. We got to share a lot of stuff. They came to train hard.
Right.
It was interesting. I'm very happy with doing the seminar. I feel the coaches week is needed to be more into details.
Right.
But to explain the overall structure of Strongfit, that worked really well.
Yeah, I think the big difference that I've noticed so far is in the U.S. they just want. At the beginning, they were asking a lot of the what questions, like what do you want me to do?
They do want it to be told what to do.
What what is it that I need to do an assessment? And so we kept trying to cover more of the whys and the hows because in reality, we want the coaches to. For me, the way I learned is you would always just give me little snippets, and then I would just take them to my gym, and I'd start. Every time I go home, I was like, "Fuck!" He just blew my mind again.
Yeah.
Jesus, how am I gonna apply this? And then I'd be in a group class, and I was like. Everybody's fucking everything up, and so you start seeing someone with a hurt shoulder, this or that, and you go to them and you're like, this is exactly what Julian was just talking about, and I go to him and I start giving them homework, and and that's how I learned is I didn't expect you to give me the answers, you just gave me the base layer, and I just kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper within myself, within my coaching abilities, within my training, and that's how I was able to answer.
And that's why you got better.
Right.
But that's why you got so much better so fast. It's because you figure it out on your own. I refuse to give you a fish. Like the point is that you should be learning to apply all this.
Right.
So I told you the how to do it. You got there and you did it with all your clients and everything. But that's how you get better. Like I refuse to have a seminar where we tell you how to do an assessment.
Right.
That will never be a Strongfit seminar, and that's not what we did either. Because like in Torrance, we had a lot of questions that were a what. So instead of a why and a how, which is the only thing I want to do, it was the what. So, okay, so what do I do when my person comes and has a shoulder problem? Why do I do it? It's like, no, we're going to come back. Those are the principles. You see how you go at it. But the point is not to tell you what to do, because then every time someone comes with a different problem, then what? You're going to have to come, run back, email me and ask me what to do for that person. I cannot help your people. I don't know them. The only people I can help is the people that I see directly. What I can do to help you is to teach you how to do it. And that's exactly what we try to do at the seminar. And that's what you did. Every time I would never tell him when you have a problem, it's like, no, this is I would tell him, without the lats, the shoulders do this, the shoulder do that, make the lats fire. And he would do it himself, figure out what works, what doesn't, do it with his own people. Doesn't work, works, doesn't work, depending on people. You figure it out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the only way we're going to progress. If not, we're just being stuck back into the methodology aspect
all the time. And then what happens when you have a slightly different problem? Then you can't figure it out.
Right.
I mean, I was very happy with that. I never had to tell you twice. But that's because you did your homework too. Is you went home and you try every single thing. Right. And actually, the landmine rows that I like so much for the lats and the obliques, Richard came up with it. That wasn't mine. That was his actually. And that's the movement I use the most for oblique work now, because he worked really, really well. So I was very happy because he came to me saying, "Hey, I tried that. Why don't you try it?" I tried it. I was like, "It's in. I love it." So that's what we want out of people. What we want. That's how we're gonna create coaches. I'm not going to go out there and say assessment A, assessment B, shoulder and everything. The concept is fairly clear. Yeah, exactly. And we're back to exactly the same thing. And then we can sell a book and then a 6 weeks course. And then we're back to being exactly who we hate.
Yeah.
So no, not happening.
Exactly.
But so there was at first there was a lot of what at the Torrance seminar. And then eventually they start to be more interested in the methods and everything. And so... He also showed, though, that how much we need the Coaches Week and the continued education toward that. I mean, because I realize how much knowledge. I don't think I realize how much knowledge I put on people right away like that. But
I do. If you start seeing people just glaze over.
Yeah. There was a few people like, There was a few times they had to go around the block with a sandbag, because I was like, if you fall asleep one more time, you're all carrying sandbags. Happened twice. So, and it's stuff they're not used to. So I understand that it was a bit hard, but by the end they really started to go after the principles and everything. But there's a need for the Coaches Week. There's a need for a structure for us to be able to keep touch with everyone. That's what we're going to do through the website. But that's what we need, like for Mexico, for those places, is where we can all go together and find, like that put that data in one place where we all stay in communication, so we can talk about all that stuff.
Yeah, and just trying. I mean, the amount of excellent coaches that we had at this. I just want to sip. The amount of great coaches we had at these seminars. I mean,
that's very true.
The ones that truly take it to heart and start applying the principles. I mean, I'm sure the only way to progress forward is to, figure out different openers, figure out different movements, and that at the beginning of every seminar I go, you guys go home and play with it. If you're, I was having a chest problem, and you were like, well, let's play with it, and we figured out the one.
Yeah, but we took a session. By the way,
yeah,
that's a very good point. Is we did that for Richard because like Richard had a major accident. It's a long story, but he had one of the gnarliest accident ever. He was. I mean, tell the story a little bit because people don't necessarily know that about you. But so. Well, they have to know. It's a cool story. He doesn't like to tell about it. But
it was just a boulder.
Yeah, okay. It was just a boulder the size of a car, the size of a Buick. He pushed his uncle out of the way, and then the boulder hit him, and he went like 100 meters downhill and everything, and should have died, but he's so strong he didn't. His hip was crushed in 40 places?
Something like that.
They stopped counting at 40. Yeah, there you go. He stopped counting at 40. And so there are like actual structural issues on his left side because of the accident, right? Where everything got crushed. And so sometimes we have problem activating the lats and the pec on the left side. And so we had planning to do a session, but he couldn't get a pump going on the left. Something again was not, it comes back in a fairly regularly, and we're like, okay, so today we're not going to do a training session. We're going to find a way to activate the left lat, and that's all we did for really an hour. We went through different exercises, and eventually he did the one arm bench press, and the empty bar on the left was excessively hard to do for 3 reps. Yeah. Like he wanted to collapse like he does normally, always bench presses collapsing on the left. And that movement showed on a one-arm bench. And we're like, okay, so we're going to make you work with an empty bar, but with a correct external, internal rotation and everything. We took an hour doing that, but that finally got things fired the way we wanted. And then you got a PR on the bench a few weeks after that. So sometimes it's that too, is you have to be willing to not do the CrossFit session and the sweat session, and just put work in on knowing how to make external rotation works. I mean, that's where work in.
That's the harder work.
Yes, exactly.
It's easy to go in and just do a workout, but to go in and go, fuck, what do I need to work on? I need to work on rotation.
Yeah, and making it fire, and like it's not working. And for an hour, you're like, it's not working, but I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. That's where work is.
Exactly.
I mean, but speaking of that, like that's the point I was making about the seminars. Is like, for example, the one we had this weekend. There were some really, really good questions. Yes. There's some guys out there that are very already committed to Strongfit. You can tell they're very smart. They have very good questions. We're going to use those guys to build really the networking of coaches, because those are guys that want to be Strongfit coaches. Out of every seminar, I think we'll be able to choose the ones that shown the most understanding of the system and that obviously want to move forward with this, and then we'll create a network of coaches like that through the Coaches Week, through the certification we're working on. And so basically we're going to start growing that way, because to be able to spread the message, I can't do it by myself. Thank God for Richard, because he does so much work. Otherwise I'd be stuck halfway. So we need to grow all that, because that's the point of Strongfit, is just to get that information out there. So we're creating an entire team we want to create an entire team of coaches, because this year we'll travel a lot. We're in Europe, we're going to the States, East Coast, Canada, Australia, Asia,
everywhere.
And Latin America. I want to go, because he has all of Latin America, but I want to get Brazil because of, I live there and my daughter. Yeah.
It's Portuguese.
And it's a bit easier for me. I'm single now, so the Brazilian women as well. And that's another problem. All that stuff.
As it starts to grow, it's crucial to let people know that it's going to be outside of CrossFit. It's not just a methodology that we're teaching. This stuff should be applied. We had a lot of physiotherapists here.
I was very happy.
If you're a strength coach, if you're a personal trainer, they should all be applying this stuff and using it.
We didn't have just CrossFitters. We had 5 physiotherapists. We had 36 people. We had 5 physiotherapists. Yeah. There was actually at least 7 or 8 guys that were not. Right. 2 pure Olympic weightlifters. Yeah. I was very happy about that. Right. We're starting to win toward Olympic weightlifting. We had 6 to 8 guys.
We had people that were like, we had a guy that was just, was his name Tony? Oh, he's going to hate me if he sees this and I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
But the dude was cool. The guy's like an IT guy. He's like, I work in my office 12 hours a day, so I want a sandbag so I can do something. And he wanted to come to the Coaches Week. And I'm like, why do you want to come to the Coaches Week? He's like, this stuff's awesome. He's like, I don't want to go be trained by anybody else, but the knowledge that's being spread, I can take that and apply it to myself at the gym.
Yeah. That's really the idea. Yeah.
As long as you start understanding the principles, then it's just like learning to read or learning mathematics. it's the same thing. You now understand the principles that 2 plus 2 is 4.
Yep.
You now understand that when you push, it's an internal. When you pull, it's external. You can
Then
now go
move
to
forward.
the gym and not
And do
get
dumbbell
fucked up
dumbbell
with
and
25
do
reps.
dumbbell presses the correct way.
Right.
But that's also something that's my fault because I didn't communicate that properly. But that the seminars and the coaches week are not just for either top athletes or
Right.
top coaches. It's for, and then that Strongfit is not just for CrossFit. Yes, I do train a lot of CrossFitters right now because it's almost like a hobby. It's just happened with
It's just
Valerie and
contact
everything.
me.
Yeah, exactly. But they kept asking me. So, but the system is for way past CrossFit, and the seminar and coaches week is not just for athletes.
Right.
It's for coaches, but it's not just for coaches. It's also for the regular guy at the gym, and then or even the guy that doesn't go to the gym. It's about way past CrossFit and just the top people. We
It's
try to
actual-
influence. It's movement.
Yeah.
Everybody needs movement. Like
It's
whether
about
you
people taking responsibility for their health and
Yeah.
fitness.
exactly on your training, right? And so on your training at the gym when you go to the global gym, on your training when you're a lifter, on your training when you haven't started training yet and you want to.
Right.
It's for that's why we try to bring Strongfit. It's just to move better. Everybody needs to move better, not
Right.
just CrossFitters.
Exactly.
So that was cool. Okay, so that was a good one. It's already 30 minutes. So we will do another one. That goes fast when it's the two of us, so that's better. So exactly. So we'll do a lot of those because that's a lot easier to do, and we will see you guys soon.
Later.